People, and welcome back to the Just Joe football show. And it's time for another video. It's like a bus, isn't it? I haven't done one for a few days, and then three come along at once. We've got your Southampton preview, which is out now. Please check it out if you haven't already. We've got Before the Whistle Blows, which previews all the weekend's game that dropped last night live at 8 p.m. So if you haven't watched that, please check out that. And I've also wanted to do an impromptu video on the man of the moment, one of the best right wingers in world football right now. Of course, Raphinha. Raphinha has been ripping it up on the international stage. Had two sub-appearances for Brazil most recently. Came on against Venezuela, got himself a couple of assists, was involved in all three goals in that game. And, of course, he got his first start last night. And he scored twice in a win that saw Brazil beat Uruguay 4-1. And has seen, Brazil cruise to, World Cup qualifying victory. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on at the World Cup in Qatar 2022. Will he be in a Leeds United shirt when that happens, though? That is the main question. I, for one, hope so. I love the man, the best Brazilian we've seen at this football club. One of the best natural, talented, technical players we've ever had. There's discussions about is he the best player we've ever had alongside that man whose name I will not speak, who also coincidentally ended up at Liverpool as well. He's certainly up there, isn't he? And what a talented player we have. And I know a lot of people are getting frustrated with this phrase I'm about to say. I've seen it a lot and everyone keeps saying it, and I can see people's heads like about to explode, but we have to enjoy him. We have to enjoy him while we're here. And I know a lot of people, you're selling him already. But we're going to talk about Fabinho's comments. We're going to talk about Deco's comments. And Deco's comments, for me, his agent, we all know Deco is, right? What a baller he was as well. His agent's been speaking about it and said that, we'll go into more detail. But ultimately, he said Liverpool were interested. Leeds didn't want to sell. He said didn't want to sell this summer. So that means he understands. I think the club understand. I think the majority of fans understand that at some point we have to sell because Raphinha's stock continues to rise. And unfortunately for Leeds United fan base, reality is we're not rising at the same trajectory he is. He's destined for Champions League football and could play it now. He's that good. He's gone to a Brazil side that includes Neymar and doesn't look out of place. Neymar's talking about retiring and all this stuff, and they need someone to take on that mantle. You've got a man right there in Raphinha. He's that good. He's that good. Thiago Silva's been speaking about him, Fabinho, all these Brazilian players, seen him come in and just attack it. Tito, the coach there, has been very glowing about Leeds United and speaking, with Bielsa. And he said, I personally thanked Bielsa for bringing him up to this level. And that's what Bielsa can do. I was speaking to Corey yesterday on Before the Whistle Blows, talking about Calvin and the level he's brought him to. I'm never saying that Raphinha didn't have this potential to ever get to that level. Of course he did. But it's a madness to think that Rennes sold into Leeds United without a question for 17 million, the same price they paid for him. Like, what's going on at that football club? Maybe they didn't see what Bielsa could see. I'm not sure. I don't think many people can see what Bielsa can see, let's be honest. Because look what he's done to players within our squad. But let's talk about Liverpool, right? Is it inevitable that Raphinha is going to rock up at Liverpool? It's got a little sense of inevitability about it for me. I think what will get levelled at Liverpool fans is, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans will agree with this statement I'm about to make, is that we won't spend the cash. We won't spend the cash. We never spend cash. But, I listen to Grizz a lot. My man Grizz over on the Big Six, and he made a good point. They spend wisely. When they need to spend, they will spend. We've seen that in previous situations with the likes of bringing in Alisson, Van Dijk, when it needed to be spent. And Liverpool are going to get to a place where they're going to need to spend. They'll need to replace a Henderson. They'll need to replace a Mane. They'll need to replace a Salah, Raphinha's still a young boy. He's still got a long way to go. And he would fit into that Liverpool side like a hand does in a glove, genuinely. I also think Calvin would. But, Liverpool fans will disagree with that. But I don't mind Liverpool Don't mind them. I know some Leeds fans might not be on that same vein as me. But I think my main worry, and I voiced this many times last season about Raphinha, was that he would rock up at Manchester United due to his relationship with Bruno Fernandes. But, Manchester United have got an abundance of wingers, and that's not going to happen for me. They don't need him. And that makes me happy because I can enjoy Raphinha at a Liverpool. If he, it's inevitable. People, I know I'm going to enjoy him while he's here and bask in all his glory and get to enjoy him. Will it be this summer? There's a big chance. But I feel like there's a sense of inevitability that he moves to Liverpool. If they don't spend the cash that we'll want, and let's be honest, minimum 60 million and rising for me personally. If they don't spend the cash, then I'd like to see him go abroad. Of course I would, but I just don't see where else he fits currently. Manchester City, maybe if they move Mahrez on, he's not going to Chelsea, he's not going to Manchester United. I just don't see their moves happening. So Liverpool would make sense because there will come a time when they need to move their first team players on. If Liverpool fans watch this, let me know if you agree or disagree. Not move them on, but, start to improve the players that will be ready to come off that conveyor belt, ready to come on when Salah does drop. He doesn't look like he's currently, but if you look at what's underneath, look at Liverpool's bench, what they had to get rid of, Divock Origi, Shaqiri, all these sort of players. They're just not up to the level that Liverpool's first team is. So they need to get players that are going to be ready to make that step. And Raphinha certainly is that. And the reason I say there's a sense of inevitability is mainly because of Deco's comments. He came out, did an interview. Listen, none of us like when agents do this stuff, but they have a job to do. Deco said he's ambitious to play at a higher level, despite Leeds being in the Premier League, but it's not the right time just yet. This is why, it made sense for me for Raphinha to take that sideward step from Rennes, who were playing in the Champions League, let's not forget. So he could have well put himself in the shop window there, but he understands the Premier League's the main league. It's where I can really show my skills. And he's took that sideward step to come to Leeds United to then, move on to that next level. And the next level, guys, it's not Europa League, it's Champions League for this guy. Deco went on to say he really stood out in the Premier League. He believes he will go on to play for the world's top clubs. Liverpool are that, recent Champions League winners, recent Premier League winners. But he did say the 24-year-old still has 3 years left on his contract in Yorkshire. Ideally, in an ideal scenario, Leeds give him a new contract, like they are doing with Calvin Phillips, hopefully tied up around Christmas, protect that asset, maybe release clause. The thing is with Raphinha, if we don't give him a new contract and he moves into that 2-year period, it's dangerous ground, isn't it? Because then he can leave for a free and you can't command as much. So maybe if they don't look to sign him on a new deal, then this summer might be when the deal happens. Deco went on to say there are certainly many clubs interested in him. Liverpool do like him, and there were some approaches, but nothing official. Leeds wanted to keep him for another season. That's the key point for me, is that Raphinha's happy with that because he can see that how his career's progressed at Leeds United and under Bielsa, happy to stay another season. Not right time yet for me to move. Will it be next season? I think if Deco would have said, Leeds United do not want to sell, game over, but it's for another season. Maybe, them conversations, I'm not privy to them, but it's all to like, yeah, look, there will come a time when we're ready to sell. Not quite yet. We want to keep him for a second spell in the Premier League. Makes perfect sense. Nothing official. I think, my man Grizz, who's got his, ear to the ground, made the point that, the fees that Leeds were commanding at the time, Liverpool were interested in, which I think was 60 upwards of that. Now Liverpool will have to agree to that kind of fee because he's got better and he's getting better. So if they weren't happy in the summer, because one season in the Premier League, I'm not quite sure. You can understand from a business standpoint, Liverpool might see that. Let's see how he develops. It's same with Calvin. It's only one season. Let's see how these boys do. Raphinha continues to get better. He's gone on the international stage and ripped it up. Continues to improve. So if they do want him, they are going to have to match Leeds United's, fee or figure that they want. Deco did say Raphinha is happy at Leeds. I think we all know that. I think we can all see that he loves being at Leeds United, definitely. But Deco did say there will certainly come a time when he wants to take a step in his career and move forward. And as I touched on earlier, the trajectory of Leeds United is not on the same trajectory or the same pace or speed of Raphinha's trajectory. I think we will continue to rise, but Raphinha's like this at the minute. you know. And look, and it's the same with Calvin. I put them both in the same bracket. The lads should be playing Champions League football. They will want to play Champions League football. Can they do that at Leeds United? If we're being honest, no. Not currently. In a few seasons' time, maybe. Who knows? It's rock hard to break into the top four. Europe, okay, could be doable in a few seasons' time, in a few years' time. But again, them lads don't want to be sat around waiting for that. People won't want to hear it. People won't agree with me. I think it's just straight facts, personally. He did say, you know, he will step on, he will move. He's got 3 years left on his deal, but there's nothing in it that states how long he must stay for, or that prevents a transfer, i.e. there's no, you know, if someone puts in the money, he can go. He said Leeds are aware of that and will want to sell him for a big sum, while Raphinha will end up progressing in his career, for sure. Big sum. Minimum 60 million you're talking, aren't you? Minimum 60 million. And then Fabinho spoke as well, obviously, at Liverpool. He's got many friends at Liverpool, Fabinho, Alisson. You know, especially now, he spoke about them before he even got the Brazil call-up. You know, I think he said Firmino, maybe in Fabinho, was the first player in the English Premier League to actually phone him and say welcome when he got that move from Ren, you know. So now that he's in that setup, then relationship will come even stronger. And of course, they'll have conversations. Fabinho's alluded to it when he's saying in his interview how he wanted him to make a move to Liverpool, etc. They'll be in his ear. They'll be in his ear, man. This stuff happens. They'll be saying, come on, Rafa, come and join us. You know what I mean? Mane's on the slide, come and join us. You can play anywhere across that front three for sure. You know? And Fabinho said, you know, he described him as a player with personality. He says, since arriving in the Premier League, he has a very good performance and stands out in Leeds. In this market, there was a discussion about him coming to Liverpool, but in the end, he stayed at Leeds. He's the best player in that team. We know he's the one who can cause the most danger. He started very well in both games for the national side, participated in the 3 goals against Venezuela, did very well against Colombia. We now know as well that he's scored, you know, 2 goals in that 4-1 win against Uruguay. I mean, what you couldn't have asked for a better international break, really. He said he's a left-footed player who goes up, comes in as well as on the outside. You know, he plays centrally, he can do that. We've seen him cutting many a time. He said this is very important for our team, for Liverpool. He fits them. You know, he's a guy with a lot of personality, and he's already shown that he can help us a lot, you know, the Brazil team. But, of course, he could help Liverpool. He said since he arrived in the Premier League, he's had very good performances and highlights. For Liverpool, I was hoping it would happen, but in the end, he stayed with Leeds. He says he's Leeds' best player, and whenever we play against them, we know he's the player who can cause the most danger. But, you know, Raphinha, these players will be having them conversations. They want him. They'll be having it on international duty. And for me, it's got a little sense of inevitability about it. And as a Leeds fan, some people won't disagree, but just what my opinion is, I understand he's going to move. I can accept he's going to move just due to the speed of the trajectory of both our club and him. I don't want to see him going to a club that I dislike. I don't want to see him going to Manchester United. I don't want to see him going to Chelsea. In an ideal scenario, he goes to Real Madrid. He goes to Barcelona. And it's not out of the realms of possibility. But Barcelona are all over the shop. Real Madrid, okay. But if he stays in the Premier League, Liverpool will be my choice as a fan, so I can still enjoy him. I can still enjoy Raphinha. Because this is the thing, you don't want these sort of players, you don't want them to go to a club that you dislike, because then you have to dislike them. It is what it is. Or you secretly on the QT could say you don't mind them to yourself. You can't air that stuff. You can't enjoy Raphinha if you're scoring at Manchester United. You just can't, you know. But I don't mind Liverpool, and I think it fit like Andy Go. And let me just say, I'm not for 1 second selling him. I want him to stay at Leeds United. I'm just trying to be realistic. I've said this for time. You guys who watch the channel know this. I've said this. Raphinha, Meslier, and Calvin, they are our Mahrez, our Kante, our Harry Maguire. You know, we're following that Leicester model. This is the perfect example of it. You pay 17 million for an absolute baller, and you move him on for 60, 70, 80 million. You know, that's the position we're at this football club currently. We have to accept that fact. Of course, I don't want him to go. Of course, he doesn't go in January either. Let me just say that. He doesn't go in January. I think there's a big chance he goes in the summer. If we can get another season out of him, wow. But then there's contract issues and stuff because he's into his second year and all that sort of stuff, you know. or down to his second year. So be interesting to see what we do if we offer him a new deal, protect the asset, put a release clause. I'm not sure, because he won't come cheap. He won't come cheap. And I guess a lot of Liverpool fans will think, oh, we're not going to pay that. But I think maybe, you know, spending wisely, there's going to be a time when you're going to have to, you know, replace or at least get players ready to step in when the likes of Mane, etc., do slide. And Raphinha's perfect, isn't he? He's perfect. He's gutting, but I want to just put my thoughts out there. Of course, I don't want him to leave. I want him to stay, but I feel like there's a sense of inevitability. He's going to rock up at Anfield. Rubbish in it. What it is, you've got to accept who you are. I think some people don't, but we have to accept. I'll never forget the conversation I had with someone about Conor Gallagher, and they said, Joe, we shouldn't be improving a player with a team that we're competing with. Chelsea just won the Champions League. Let's be realistic. We're not competing with them. Leicester spent more time in that top four than any other side. Guess what? They never got top four, and look where they're coming now. You've got to take your opportunities, and them opportunities are very, very slim. Leicester didn't take it, and then that top four's solid, man. No one's getting in there for me. So we ain't competing with them sides. It's cold hard facts. It's what happens when you come to the Premier League. It'll take us a long time to get to them levels. But by doing this, we have an opportunity to do that by investing correctly, you know. Leicester shown that. They came up, they bought players cheap. Kante, Mahrez, Maguire, moved them on for top dollar. Raphinha is a case of that. We move him on. Of course, we don't want to, but if you get 60, 70, 80 million, reinvest. And we know how good the under-23s are. We know the players underneath, when they get their chances, are just going to... So, you know, I know it's not nice to hear, but we have to accept it, and that's okay. But thank you, as always, for watching the Just Joe Football Show. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that jazz. Make sure you check out the Southampton preview. Make sure you check out Before the Whistle Blows. And I will be doing a watch-along on Saturday for the Southampton game. So make sure you join me for that, where hopefully Raphinha will be back in time and come on and do some magic in that game as well. But have a great weekend. Peace out. Leeds.